May the breath of God, His love, continue to flow into your soul, my beloved brothers and sisters. May this world of yours awaken to the truth so that they are truly children of God, that the veils of deceit and error and darkness fall away, to reveal truth and love and joy, for your world is destined to walk in the light of harmony, of love, of peace. These things must come, but the timing of this is dependent upon the children of this world accepting change and reformation of the soul, and the ways and means of life, which continue to degrade this world and pull it into further darkness. So much is dependent upon those who are willing to walk in the world as a light, and are willing to look within themselves and rectify those conditions within, that are not in harmony with God's love, with God's laws of creation, seeking the healing of the soul, seeking the way beyond the darkened conditions of humanity, to light. Those who continue to walk upon the divine path, I give you my love and support, prayers and presence to help uplift you, to strengthen you, and to bring you to clarity, so that the desires of your soul may awaken the response of God to transform your souls in love. My beautiful and beloved friends, peoples of the earth, it is time to awaken the soul and to learn how this may be done. So much is in the way of your spiritual progress, those conditions created by man, and continue to ensure that humanity is within a very limited frame of mind, so that much of the spiritual is ignored or inaccessible to the consciousness of the individual. Upon this earth plane of yours, there are two parallel energies that are interacting. God created this world. God created this world to be an incubator of your souls, to help you progress further and awaken to your potentials. This original intention was in place at the beginning, but as you well know, humanity chose a different course of action, to be independent from God, therefore, creating a flow of action and expression that is not necessarily in harmony with God's plan and God's laws. Rather, it is an expression of man's plans and ideas of expression in the material world. Yet, in parallel with this, God continues to sustain life, to sustain your world, to bring greater life to your world. As humanity has progressed, it has fallen deeply, risen somewhat, fallen again, risen again. This amplitude of the human condition varies greatly through history. Some peoples have come into greater alignment with God than others. Certain parts of your world are within a measure of harmony with God's laws, while other parts are in deep darkness. The world is a tumultuous and imperfect place. Yet, the world was meant to be perfect and in harmony with all things that is God's creation. Humanity has created many things. Humanity has discovered the power of their minds, this great instrument of action in the material world, and has created many things out of their imaginations and minds through the understanding of the material aspects of the world, analyzing and dissecting these things, perfecting avenues of understanding the world through mathematics and science and imagination, building structures that reach the clouds, expressing poetry which brings tears to the soul. Humanity is imbued with great gifts and powers and abilities, which it has expressed in many ways in your world. This is not as God has intended, because God wished to be in a co-creative relationship with man. God gave humanity the capacity to be extremely creative and express itself in many, many ways. Yet, a fundamental aspect that was intended from the beginning to be expressed through humanity is the awakened soul, for it is the soul that has within it spiritual wisdom, understanding, and intuitive perceptions, when awakened with God's divine love and infinite capacity for creativity and knowledge. If humanity had accepted the gift of God's love, and awakened further with this gift, then indeed this world would have been a paradise on earth, and all the subsequent worlds, beyond this material world, would have been heavens of man and God's creation. Yet, The world is burdened by a great imbalance, because the soul remains unawakened, asleep, and ineffective in your world. God continues to put great effort into providing humanity the opportunity and understanding to seek to awaken the soul, to forge its relationship with God. In so doing, opening this co-creative opportunity of man and God upon this earth, flourishing in harmony with the laws of its creation and all the conditions upon this earth that are interdependent and rely upon a prescribed interaction, a harmony that allows all to be sustained in balance and in beauty. So what must humanity do in order to come to the full realization of its creation, to be fulfilled, and to find its expression in the ways and means that God has provided for it to unfold? The reality of the mind is great. It is full of great potentials and possibilities. Humanity continues to create together a world of its own making. The human reality is not so much imbued with the truth of God's creation, other than that which is physically present, but more influenced and determined by the consciousness that humanity creates together, making its own reality, its own perception of truth. These conditions, what you call the human condition, has created great distortions, has overlaid upon God's creation, a deep error of thinking and perceiving brought about by the imaginations of men. Even in terms of humanity's spiritual understanding of life, men have created great distortions, having imposed upon humanity such onerous restrictions and ideas of spiritual expression that God is relegated to a God of punishment, a God in control of all, a God who decides who is to suffer and who is not. These things are of great error and are not meant to be the truth that mankind carries in the world. Until humanity can release itself from its own tired restrictions and old patterns of ideas and perceptions, he cannot truly understand the expansive love of God that envelops and allows humanity to walk in the world as their own masters, to be responsible for their own actions, to express themselves in ways which reflect the beauty of God's creation and the harmony of God's creation. When this realization comes, then the old structures will fall, for they need to fall in order to open ways for a new world that is coming despite the resistance of humanity, a new world which is a fresh beginning for humanity, an invitation to join God in the creation of the world, that is a reflection both of God's will and man's will in harmony with one another. For too long, this parallel road has brought about a great divide between humanity and God because humanity does not understand its own self and does not truly see beyond the strictures of the mind and awaken to the possibilities of the soul. In order for this to be, there must come a certain humility, a certain desire, a way in which the soul opens to God in innocence and an expression of faith that allows God to come into the consciousness of men. Since God did not create man to be obedient to the divine, rather in God's great love and compassion and joy, in the expression and creation of man, he has offered a great invitation, the merging of man's soul with God's soul, the opening of the faculties of the soul, the wisdom of the soul, the potentials of the soul through receiving his essence, the divine essence of God, into the soul of man. This is what will heal the rift between humanity and God. This is what will open the floodgates of true wisdom, of the great creativity of man, expressed in harmony with God and God's creation. Yet, man continues to nurture his own perceptions, biases, and mindful ideas of his existence, thus restricting the higher spiritual understanding that may come into the consciousness of man even without the awakening of the soul. It is sad indeed to see that much of humanity believes that upon their demise that they will not continue to exist. This is a reflection of a mind with a narrow focus upon the material world, taking all of that which is obvious to the senses and the experience of daily life, as the true and only expression of truth. As such, humanity fears death, for they believe this is the end of their existence. Even if they were to open themselves to the possibility that this is only one portion of a great stream of life in which they are a part of, then greater light may come into your world, for this simple shift of reality would bring a greater sense of the purpose of life, and that there is indeed much more to life that these mindful, restrictive ideas continue to convey to the mind. Humanity is in a very dark place. In God's world of creation, often it requires a point of tension that builds and builds until it must erupt and bring about new ways and new understanding. In your world today, you are experiencing great stress. It is almost universal that there is an anxiety within each individual, a sense that something is wrong, and that the future will bring greater challenges. This sense of the building tension in your world is real. This sense comes from the soul. It is the harbinger of coming change and coming upheavals, which will challenge the structures of humanity, the thinking, goals, desires, and intentions that are so prevalent in the human condition. These things will indeed be challenged greatly. The outcomes will be the releasing of this building condition within the world that will spawn new thinking and understanding, and will for many ignite the awakening of the soul and the understanding of how that awakening may be fulfilled. God's plan for the salvation of humanity continues to be enacted, for without divine intervention, humanity will continue to walk upon a path leading to oblivion. As I have said, God continues to make great effort to bring light to this world, the world of His creation. Because of the laws that God has in place so the world may function in harmony, so that humanity may grow spiritually and become refined in their own expressions, there are at times a need for dramatic change and upheaval. The course of this expression within this created world is not up to man to control. It is up to God. God sets into motion His intentions and will. Whether humanity is awakened to this or not, so it will be. Yet every soul upon this world has the possibility of knowing God's will, and working with God to bring about the flourishing and flowering of His creation, this world and the worlds of spirit and the universe as a whole. This dynamic interaction, interchange of energies, a reflection of God's creations, all flowing and moving and changing, continues to happen all around you and all through the universe. With the awakened soul, it would be far easier to understand this and to see it for what it is, the awesome nature of God's creation, the great intricacies and delicate interactions, subtle, yet powerful, which happen upon your earth and happen in the universe. With such perceptions, the dilemmas that humanity faces at this time would be eliminated, and the world would be easily brought back into harmony, and joy would proliferate in your world, love would proliferate. The creativity of man would flourish and produce astounding expressions of beauty and harmony. The ease of living in your world would be readily accomplished with the creativity of man in harmony with the blessings of God. Yet, man continues to struggle and insists upon his own way, his own journey. Unfortunately, the intensity of darkness upon your world continues to grow, and disharmony continues to intensify. Humanity must let go of its insistence of having control, of being in total control of all things that are of life. You must let go of a sense of ownership, propriety, and entitlement towards all that is taken and transmuted by the will of man. The elements of nature can be shared with humanity, given a depth of wisdom, knowledge, and honoring the creation of God. These simple things, this approach to life, utilizing the gifts of life, are not so out of reach that humanity cannot understand these important precepts and ways to live in harmony in the world. What holds man back is his fear of looking within, for every child upon your world is burdened with great pain and great distortion. It requires a measure of bravery and a desire to reconcile one's spiritual condition towards light. So humanity holds itself back from light, from true spiritual and even physical fulfillment because of these conditions that proliferate in your world and are absorbed by humanity from the time of birth on. Innocence becomes lost and anger replaces love. The desire of the material and the carnal appetites become the priorities, hoping to dull the pain and find a measure of happiness and fulfillment in the world. Few find such happiness and fulfillment in this way. Even those who appear to have all the material things of the world, a great wealth, what you would call a beautiful life, within their soul is a great pain, a great unease, a sense of a lack of love. No one in your world is immune to the struggles of humanity. Thus, the great dilemma that we face is to help humanity to open its eyes to the truth, to put aside its illusions, its fear of the truth, and open their eyes to what truly is. In these shifting conditions of the world that are now upon you and are coming, humanity will be forced to open their eyes to truth. Some will resolutely turn away. Some will find salvation in the truth. Many will uphold and support their brothers and sisters to awaken to the true source of love. Some have referred to this as the end of times, but I say to you, it is the beginning of a new era. This beginning is necessary at this time, for the damage that humanity has done to the world continues to force your world into great imbalance, a critical imbalance that could lead to the destruction of one of God's great and beautiful creations. God will not allow this to be, and so God has set forth and put into motion a great correction, a healing of your world. All within it are subject to this intervention. As times move on and world continues to be influenced by the hand of God, and changes take place as a result of the world's response to God, you will see that there will be many surprising openings and awakenings, possibilities laid before you, so that it will not be all pain and destruction, a great cataclysm that will bring about what some have called the judgment of humanity. No, this is not the case though, there will be adjustments. There will at times be painful outcomes for humanity, but in the end, those who are willing to let go of their insistence of control of the world will find a generosity and blossoming of God's love extended towards them. They will find for themselves solutions and manifestations of God's wondrous compassion for all to be manifest within their lives. Depending upon the intensity of the individual's resistance to this new way, this new awakening and dawning of human life on earth, they will find their way. Some more easily than others. Some will see quickly and will open readily to God's invitation. Some will resolutely keep their eyes closed and suffer greatly for their resistance, and as they allow their fear to dominate their lives and are most attached to the human condition, the suffering will be great. The dawning conditions of your world will insist upon the release of the old ways of the mind, and the opening of the new ways of the soul. It has been eons of time that God has allowed humanity its course, its choice. Now, there comes a time where God will insist upon the reconciliation of man, the souls of men to the soul of God, though there will always be a choice, for this is an essential law, that of the free will of man. But God will not allow humanity to destroy this world and make it a creature of His own mind, for this is folly, and this can never be, though humanity does have the capacity, the ability to be creative as God is creative, to envision an entire world in a way that God does so, and continues to create worlds upon worlds in the universe. Yet each creation of God, each world, is a precious child of God's, and He cherishes His creations as He cherishes each one of you, thus the law of love must be expressed in all of God's creation. That law of love is an unfolding, evolving aspect of creation, a creation towards harmony, a creation towards a sort of perfection, one that is ever evolving and refining towards greater light and greater love. You cannot fathom the depth and breadth of God's creation, beloved souls. You may get a glimpse. You may see beyond the limited vision of the human condition. You may awaken somewhat within your soul and know the power and intensity to some degree of God's love, but you will never know all that is and will be, for even we do not know, and we are close to God. If you cannot know these things, then how can you be in charge of the creation of the world? You do not have the perceptions and insights and wisdom and knowledge to be so inclined to create in this way. Within every soul is a sense of humility, of wonderment, the ability to see to some degree their place within the universe of God's creation. In this acknowledgement of the created to the Creator, comes true peace and true understanding of the journey and purpose of life. With the awakening of the soul with God's divine love, so this understanding comes to the consciousness of humanity. It must be pursued. It must come into this unfolding of consciousness of the soul merged with the consciousness of the mind, making a oneness, a beautiful flow that allows for the creative outlets and expressions of the individual in ways that are and will be magnificent and beautiful. I urge all of humanity to come to the realization that they are indeed unformed, that there is greater need to develop those hidden parts of themselves. This need comes on the heels of their desire to slough off the pain and error that resides within them, that they may come to know their true selves, that they may come to know God, therefore merging the reality of man with the reality of God. This is the next stage of human development. This is what is coming in the future. We come to encourage you, to direct you, and inform you as to why things are, as they are, and why great change is coming and will be expressed in the world in ways that will challenge each and every soul upon this planet. You cannot deny, if you look within you, this feeling that change is indeed coming. The challenges are indeed upon you, and that there is a deep need within you to fill that place within that feels empty and bereft of love. Can you continue to ignore these things, beloved children? Can you say to yourselves honestly that your life is fulfilled, that all within you and without is in great joy and harmony? For some this is the case, but I say there are very few indeed who have found these things in their life. I say that those that have found a great fulfillment within, know God deeply, have a relationship that is unshakable and powerful, inspiring the soul and awakening the abilities of the soul to know God, to be with God, to love God. May you find your way to that place. It is crucial that you do so. It will inform your destiny. It will equip you for the changes that are coming. It is not a demand, but we implore you to make great efforts to understand your own soul, to awaken that very vital part of yourself, and nourish it so that it may merge into your consciousness, and with God creating a powerful interrelationship that will inform your lives and bring great understanding to what life truly is and who you are within it. God will bring you to that place, one way or another, that place where you must look. The world will not sustain this insistent blindness to the truth of what humanity has created, that is for the most part, destructive and out of harmony with God. You must come to your own reconciliation. God is there for every individual. There is nothing that God holds back or will deny. In fact, everything is given in good time as the soul awakens with His love. So much is revealed. Many gifts are bestowed and many manifestations possible. But you must have faith, beloved souls. You must have faith in God, and faith in that part of you that was created to be with God in a conscious and beautiful way. Nothing comes of nothing. One must make efforts. One must yearn and struggle to get beyond these human conditions to a place of reconciliation with God. Your minds are your great challenge. Your minds continue to uphold the great illusions of the human condition. To release the hold of your mind upon all that you are, is the great challenge and often brings trepidation and fear, for the mind does not want to release its control. The mind has been the great focus of humanity for eons of time. The mind has such a great pride of itself seeing what it can do, manifesting those things that are a part of the capacities of the mind to create and express, but are not in harmony and in conjunction with the greater part of the individual, which is the soul. Indeed, you are asked to put aside all that you have cherished over many years and awaken to something different but greater within you. This attempt to push aside the barriers within you will bring to you the assistance of the angels and the blessings of God. You must do so in prayer. You must come to God in humble, soulful desire, and God will respond accordingly. All will be given abundantly. You will come to know the fulfillment, the true fulfillment of your being in this reconciliation between your mind and soul, bringing a great harmony within, which in time and with many others will manifest great harmony in the world. It is time, beloved souls, to walk in the light and to realize that humanity has gone down a road that is not in harmony with God or God's creation, therefore, bringing upon itself reactions and manifestations that are not in harmony with love but an expression of darkness. May you be blessed, beloved souls, on that journey. May you be strong enough to consider that there is much more to you and to your life than you could imagine within your minds. That God will reveal to you all that you are and bring to you all love and upliftment, healing and joy. Why would you resist such things? It is merely that you do not believe you are worthy, but I say to you, that every soul is worthy of God's embrace, of God's love, that this invitation is extended to every soul. You, beloved souls, who are willing to stretch yourselves beyond your own mindful biases and fears, will find a whole new world awaiting you. Many experiences, many expressions of God and blessings of God will come into your lives. In meaningful and tangible ways you will be blessed, beloved souls. Ask for the Creator to open your soul to the inflowing of His love. That simple request given with all sincerity and desire will bring about the transformation of yourself and with others, the transformation of your world. May God bless you, beloved souls. I am Jesus. I have come once again to speak to you, to the world, to implore the world to come to its senses, the sensibility of the soul and the mind together, working in harmony, bringing about beautiful expressions that are in harmony with God's love and will, so that love may proliferate in your world, and that love is the key and the answer to the dilemmas of your world. God bless you, beloved souls. My love is with you. I walk with you all. We eagerly anticipate all that is coming, and all that will be and manifest through the beautiful souls of humanity. God bless you and keep you in His love.